Hello everyone and welcome to the Sacramento Zoo. My name is Kate and with me today are Chris and a special surprise animal ambassador who is coming out on her debut thanks to Jiffy Lube of Greater Sacramento for sponsoring this. So I think Chris is ready to go ahead and let her out so you guys can see who is here. Now this is Butternut. Butternut is a prehensile-tailed porcupine. And she is moving around. We've added some branches to our stage. Now, Butternut would be coming out during the stage shows, which would normally be happening at 11 o'clock. So we thought she would...
She's already not following directions.
I know. She's practicing. She's one of our newest animal ambassadors. She came to us just at the beginning of the year. And she actually just turned a year old the 9th of this month. So she is newly a year old and eager to explore. Now, as you can see, she's over climbing around, checking out all the branches that we've added to the stage. And you might notice her use that tail. So if you see her tail wrap around those branches, of course it's not, there we go. That's showing off how prehensile it is. It helps kind of hold her and keep her stationary as she's moving across trees and branches. There she is, checking a few more things out in the sunshine. Now you'll notice she is covered with all different kinds and different shapes of, well, they're all the same kind, but those quills. Very, very important for this species. And we'll see if she's interested in taking some food or if she's interested in using that big nose of hers to just smell. There she is, enjoying some apple, it looks like. Now they eat a lot of fruits, but also they do, in fact, kind of chew on some wood and kind of help gnaw down those teeth. Chris, would you like to add anything about Butternut as she is exploring her new surroundings?
Yeah, so this is one of the new animals, so you can see she was very eager to come out and check out her new surroundings. We put up some branches so that she can climb around. So it's the first time these branches were out here, and being an arboreal or a tree porcupine, she spends most of her time up into the trees and rarely on the ground. So we wanted to make her feel more comfortable when she's out here exploring to get up off the ground. Now we'll see if we can get her to come to her target spot in the front. Oops. So she's naturally drawn to the highest places. She's checking everything out. So she'll come to her target.
Now I do see we have a question for how old is she? She was born on April 9th of 2019, so she is just over a year.
Hey, come back this way.
There she is using that nose.
We're exploring too much, so we can't actually focus on training right now, which is okay because this is actually part of her training too. Being an ambassador animal, we want her to be comfortable in her surrounding environment. Oh, here we go. Heading out. Target. Target. Good. So when she touches her nose to the end of the target, she gets a reward. She tricks Yam. She does have favorites already, so actually Yam is one of her favorites. She loves bananas, fruit-wise, is her favorite. They will eat also nuts and some bark and like new leaves and stuff, so, and maybe some flowers and stuff. So they gnaw on a lot of different things. And if you notice, I don't know if we can get her to flip and show off those rodent teeth. She says, I'm too busy eating. But if we can see her teeth, she has teeth much like a rat or a hamster or a squirrel. So they have these orange rodent teeth. Those orange incisors are what allow them to gnaw on such hard things out there. And those incisors are actually growing all the time. There's no root base to them. So they're constantly growing their entire life. Because they do eat such hard things, they need those teeth to be growing all the time. Otherwise, they'd wear them down so fast and then they wouldn't be able to eat. So they have the orange enamel, which is much harder, much denser, and it's on the front, and there's hardly any enamel on the back. Where are you going? And so when they gnaw, it actually makes a chisel with their teeth. So actually for a rodent, they have very sharp teeth. And again, that helps for, if you've ever seen a wood chisel, that's basically what their teeth look like, so they can easily gnaw into that wood or nuts, shells, or the fruit skins and all that stuff. So it works pretty well.
We have a question.
Yes.
Can you pet a porcupine from Emmett, age 2?
Can you pet a porcupine? very carefully. Now that's one thing we're training Butternut here is being an ambassador animal. We want people to get closer and kids have more interest if they can touch. So we're getting her used to being touched. You can see she really doesn't mind it that much. The main thing to remember is to go the same direction as the quills. That way you don't get poked. Because if you do go backwards accidentally or if she were to move, you could get stuck by her quills. And her quills are very loosely attached to her body. So as soon as the tips get stuck into something, they will just naturally release from her body. And with her, that's her defense, how she keeps from getting eaten in the wild. And it works pretty well. You can see it covers their head all the way down their back and only halfway down their tail. Being a prehensile tail, she doesn't want quills to go all the way to the end because she might poke herself when she wraps her tail around. And by having the tail, she also has a callus on the end of the tail for help for gripping. So that works pretty well. And then what's also is there's a big myth. Porcupines, no porcupine, shoots or throw their quills. Their quills are basically a modified hair. So just like you can't throw the hair off the top of your head, neither can the porcupine. You actually have to touch them. They think that myth came from the North American porcupine because they will swat with their tail and their tail moves so fast that a dog would have no quills and then all of a sudden dogs would have quills in their face, and it's because the porcupine had swat. And because they are loosely attached, sometimes when they swat their tail, a little loose quill might fall off. And so it's pretty neat. Now these guys, the quills on these guys, on the smaller porcupines, North American and South American porcupines, they're barbed. So they have actually, let's see what she picks, corn, carrot. I think we're gonna go for the corn.
Oh.
Corn's kind of sweet. We have a sweet tooth. So with the quills of a porcupine, they have the barbed end. So it's not barbed all the way. So with her, it's just barbed on this kind of tip part here. And what's kind of neat is with this type of porcupine, they're kind of tricolored. So they have a white, black, and yellow tint to the quill. So it's pretty neat. And so when these quills get stuck, those barbs make it 4 times harder to pull it out. So it gets wedged into that predator that's trying to get them. And then the predator has to make sure they get this quill out because this quill is designed with those barbs. Every time that muscle moves, it's going to draw the quill deeper and deeper into the body. And what's going to happen is it's going to hit a muscle, it's going to hit a major organ or artery, and that's where the animal's going to be in big trouble. So that's why it's very important to remove those quills. So with us, if we get stuck with a quill, usually they're pretty easy to pull out, but if it's kind of a little deeper, you got to get a pair of pliers and pull them out. But pretty good defense.
We have a question from Charlotte, age 6. Is she a nocturnal animal?
Ooh, excellent question. She is a nocturnal or nighttime creature. She has a day job here at the zoo, so this is what she's used to. But it is her choice to work. So if, she stayed up too late partying last night, then she does get to sleep in. She doesn't have to work, but she was very eager to come out and see you guys. This is actually her debut. Normally we would have been debuting her in our shows here this April at the zoo, but because we're closed, we are so happy and thankful to Jiffy Lube that we are able to present her for you guys on the Facebook Live, so you guys can still see this cute little girl. Pretty cool.
We have another question from Addie, age 4. Is she related to an opossum?
Ooh, she kind of looks like an opossum, doesn't she? Kind of the body shape and the tail and stuff, but she's not. She's actually in the rodent family, so she'd be related to squirrels, hamsters, and also the beaver. So rodent.
A little bit larger than those opossums get too, and not the marsupial, so they don't have that pouch to store their young.
Exactly. Now these guys, here's a question for you. She's kind of a smaller porcupine. Can you guys guess what the largest porcupine in the world is?
Oh, we'll see if some of our viewers are willing to come in with some answers. Now we have a few more questions. Is she a good climber? And where does she sleep?
Where does she sleep? Well, she is an excellent climber. This porcupine is designed for living in the trees. The way their feet are designed with their toes and their claws, and they have some very long claws. I don't know if you can see them. She says, "No, I'm eating, don't bother me." But as the wheel can watch her, as she goes and climbs on those branches, that she has a very good climbing ability. The claws help her grip on stuff, and so she'd move all through the trees. Now the other thing is when these guys sleep, they'll find a hollow part in the tree, like in a tree trunk, or just find kind of a nice spot in a bunch of branches and leaf kind of matter to kind of hang out. And they'll kind of curl up a little bit when they sleep.
All right, we also have from Ronan, age 8, can they regrow their quills?
Ooh, excellent question, yes. So whenever a quill falls out, a new one will grow back in to replace it. Because it is a type of hair, they should always have plenty of quills. Oh, we're going to explore somewhere else. Keep an eye on her. Now you'll notice sometimes when she's walking, she sticks those quills high up, and that's something naturally the porcupines will do because there is a lot of predators out in South America. So she's being cautious as she's exploring her new area. And so she thinks it's pretty cool. And you'll notice she has that big nose on the front of her face. These guys have excellent sense of smell. So she is sniffing. If you watch, her nose goes along the branches and sniffs everything as she's going along. Also long whiskers, because being the nocturnal nighttime creature, they help feel their way around in the nighttime when they're moving around.
You can kind of see those whiskers with that nice sunshine coming in and how it kind of helps her get a sense of touch so that way she can figure out where she can go next. She's about to hit something. Their eyesight may not be the best, but that sense of smell and that sense of touch is very important for those nocturnal animals.
So Kate, do we have any guesses on what the largest porcupine is?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
I'll give you a helpful hint. They're found on a different continent where giraffes and lions are found.
Oh, we're getting some good hints. Now, how can we help this porcupine in the wild?
Well, right now, this porcupine, and most porcupines are of least concern, which means they're not an endangered species, which is a very positive thing in today's world. But the problem with these guys is habitat loss. And so the main thing we want to remember is because they live down in South America in the forest areas, we want to make sure that we always share the earth with our animal friends too. And so we got to make sure we don't cut down all that forest area and that they have those trees, because being arboreal, she relies heavily on those trees for food, shelter, and for living in. So that works pretty well for her.
Oh, I see someone got it spot on. We have an
Yeah.
African crested porcupine.
Exactly. The African crested porcupine is the largest porcupine. And you'll notice her quills, the one I showed you, is maybe a few inches long. The African porcupine, here she is on the ground. See, she's going. Gotta go catch the porcupine.
I know, she's ready to go.
Oh, there we go.
A nice little gallop.
Excited. So being on the ground is a little more kind of scary. It's a little more unnatural. So you can see she's definitely more aware when she's on the ground of things that approach her. So this is all part of her training to get her a little bit more relaxed and more used to this.
And as she comes towards us, that's all good too. She knows she's comfortable with the stage. This is a nice, safe, positive place for her as well, where she can go nice and up, and she has nice tall places for her to go to, so she can go and investigate those again.
Now she kind of showed you there a great way of how she would defend herself. If she noticed, as I walked a little closer to her, she kind of turned her back towards me. And that's because she is showing me her larger quills.
We'll wait for Butternut to come on and grace our presence again. But actually, I'm going to go ahead and get us a nice close look at some of these quills. Now right here, I have, this is those long quills I have right here. These are that African crested porcupine quills. And so those are staying nice and long, again, with that larger animal, that larger porcupine. And so these are going to be sticking out quite a bit farther compared to her quill, which is a lot closer together. And it does have those barbed ends as well that help, exactly like Chris said, if she can stick in to kind of that predator that might be chasing her, any of those kinds of things. So all of that is very, very important. Now it depends, I see a question on how thick are the quills. It depends. So you can see these are all African crested porcupine quills, but the thickness is different in between the individual quills. So even though this is from the same species, there may be some quills that are thicker than others, some that are thinner and that will stick out a lot longer. And then you have Butternut's, hers are going to be a lot shorter in general. So they're going to stick a lot closer together. And so they're just going to be kind of small, close together, all of that, where these might kind of stick out from that individual a bit more with the African crested porcupine as well. We are glad that all of you could join us for that. I know if you guys have any other final questions, that is fine. Butternut decided she would like to go on home, so she went back to her enclosure. Now her enclosure is not out into the rest of the zoo. She is actually with the rest of the education animals, and so Butternut decided it was time for her to return home, and so she kind of had that choice. She knows where home is, and so she decided to go that direction. So we're asking if she can swim. Swimming is not one of their major modes of transportation. They're not going to be seeking out the water that way. They get a lot of moisture from maybe the fruit, and they're going to try to stick up to the trees. Going to the ground and going low to the ground is very dangerous for those individuals, and so they wouldn't want to endanger themselves by going to the ground when there's a lot of potential predators, maybe large cats, maybe birds of prey. I know Butternut just went back home, so I'm showing off some of those amazing quills. They do kind of feel almost sticky, and really it's that barb that is getting on there. But I'm gonna go ahead and sign off since we can't see Butternut anymore, but you guys can keep engaging the zoo, asking questions. We want to thank Jiffy Lube of Greater Sacramento for joining us today on this great little adventure with Butternut for her debut, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us. So thank you, everybody.